My name is Justin Brown. I'm a former student athlete and professional athlete. I played my college career at Penn State University and the University of Oklahoma. And I was fortunate enough to play in the NFL for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. And I also played across the border in the Canadian League for the Toronto Argonauts. So the greatest mental challenge that I faced during my retirement is being able to identify with the gifts and talents that I have away from football. Growing up and playing football for my entire life, pretty much since I was 5 years old, it was something that I always identified with. And I didn't know anything else, outside of football, right? I didn't have, or I didn't know that I possessed, right? I didn't know that I had talents and gifts to be able to do certain things outside of the game. So, especially once I didn't retire, but actually once the game retired from me because of being injured and being outside of the league for so long, I had to really get forced into that transition. And I struggled, right? I struggled mentally because I didn't necessarily know what type of job to apply for, my strengths, my talents, the industry to get into, and not even necessarily the industry, but more specifically the position inside that industry. So that was probably the biggest hurdle that I have, that I had in transition.
I got no rules, I count 'em.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Live with Dr. Dawn. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn Camila Brown. I'm a double board certified child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. I'm also a sports psychiatrist, a two-time best-selling author, podcaster, producer, public speaker, media influencer, sole practitioner of ADHD Wellness Center of Houston, Texas. And tonight I am your host and guest of Dr. Dawn, Live with Dr. Dawn. So listen, thank you so much for joining me this evening for this special production. I have been waiting a year and a half for tonight, and I am overjoyed in excitement that you are here with me in the virtual space to join this incredible evening for the official launch of Mental Healthletics. Mental Healthletics. When I came up with the name, I wanted a name that would actually define what I wanted to do as far as my service to the community, particularly the elite athlete community. I've been working with elite athletes, including collegiate, professional, those who are retired, as well as Olympians for the past 6.5 years in my private practice. And some of those clients have basically really taught me a lot of things over the past 6 years. They taught me that their actual circle is very, very small, that what they actually want is confidentiality. They want to be able to access help when they need it. And a lot of times, many of them come from different backgrounds when talking about mental health is very, very taboo. And it really dawned on me that, listen, let's go ahead and talk about this. I had my first athlete walk into my office 6.5 years ago. He actually is a former Houston Rocket player. And he and his wife walked in because he was actually having anxiety attacks. And he had no idea what was going on in his life that would cause these symptoms. And Mental Athletics was basically birthed at that moment and had no idea, because that athlete actually referred me to another athlete or another athlete and then another athlete. And then all of a sudden, here I am seeing a number of athletes of different professional backgrounds who were coming with the same similar presentations. Someone to talk to, feeling burdened, feeling pained, feeling ashamed because this is something that is viewed in their professional league as being taboo or something they should just not talk about. It's a sign of weakness. Many of them were told to just take it out on the competitor that they're going to play against and you'll be fine, or just deal with it later because we don't really care about what you're feeling right now. We just care about you as an athlete. And as I started to hear the same or similar stories over and over and over again, it led me to believe that, listen, this is something that I need to do. And I started praying, I started fasting, and God gave me this vision. And I'm so happy that you're here with me tonight to actually launch this vision into fruition so that I can help many more athletes, as well as people that are their family, their friends, their coaches, and also their class of their teammates. this is not just about the athlete. This is actually about their, what I call ecological system, their support system, people that they go home to, people that they actually depend on, people that they respect to the utmost. Athletes, actually, I'm here for you all. And I'm so happy that this is the night that we're doing this. So please go ahead and share this. And thanks so much for everybody for joining me this evening. I am just like really overwhelmed in excitement. And I appreciate you all being here tonight. So Caviar, Brandy, Ibokun, thank you. Dr. Cree, I appreciate you. Nora, Ashanti, thanks so much for being here. Cedric, thank you again for joining, bro. And Pamela, Dr. Tennille, Kelly. Listen, I really appreciate you all for being here. Tonight is basically a special night because I want to just kind of, again, go over how I came up with this organization, or this company. And set aside from the athletes, I'm an adolescent or child, adolescent, adult psychiatrist, and I specialize in ADHD. And, when I was diagnosed with ADHD 11 years ago, 2 months before my graduation from my fellowship program, I knew that this was one of the reasons why I was blessed with the condition. And I say blessed because at the time I thought it was a thorn in my side. I did not know what was going on. Why wasn't I excelling? Why wasn't my work reflective of my ability? And it just allowed me to have a great appreciation for those who actually struggle with this condition. And even though I was in my own denial, going to 3 different people and not necessarily believing this was something I had, this was a mental health condition that a mental health provider had, I definitely accepted it. And I actually looked for my own treatment. I looked for my own help. And, with the professional or physician pool, it's quite small. And not that I wasn't ashamed of my condition, but I wanted to make sure that I found a right team for me. I wanted to make sure that who I went to basically allowed or gave me what I needed that was curated just for me, because I didn't believe in any cookie cutter approaches. I knew that treating the condition myself, that everyone presents it a little differently. And when I actually sought my own treatment, I actually found a relief in my burden. Like the heavy coat came off, the distorted glasses were gone. I could really see my vision. I could see how the Lord planted seeds inside of my heart to basically go forth and do this as a career. And that's what I love to do. I love to help people, and I help a lot of people. I have 5 clinics. I have a private practice, now a concierge practice, but it's okay because I know that the Lord will continue to provide me with the strength and the people that I need in my circle so that we can help as many people as we can. And that's where mental athletics came into fruition, because I could have still did this in my private practice, but because I've always been a big dreamer, God envisioned this way before I was born and basically said, listen, you're going to actually do a global company and you're going to help athletes, because I know that you love sports. Yeah, I love sports, y'all. Y'all know I love sports. But I love people who actually allow me to let my hair down. I love the players. I love to hear their stories. I love to hear their post interviews. And I always wondered how things were at home, how things were in those plane rides, how things were, when they weren't an athlete. And again, as a provider and then as a fan, it just couldn't, I really felt bad for them. And I started visualizing the sport a little differently. I actually backed off a little bit and I started enjoying the sport because I knew that when that player fell down and he broke his ankle, that there was a high risk for him becoming depressed if he didn't get the right treatment that he needed. Or that player that basically was let go because he had 4 people, competing for his actual spot, what would he do? Because he was always known as an athlete. And that actually duality became part of why I wanted to do this for athletes. And I know that I've been blessed in the process, but I wanted to do it just for athletes and also their families, because the burden is not just on them at times. It's also on their children. It's on their parents. It's on their loved ones, their wives, their husbands, and after I, kind of had this, aha moment, God started opening these doors, right? And my dad has a saying, and I'm so excited right now, I forgot what his exact words are, But he said, listen, Dawn, God opens doors, but he also opens windows. And when you rather have some windows open than doors, I'm like, yes, give me 30 windows to open in my home, because I want God to just basically just pour into me, and so that I can pour into others, because I feel that that's what he designed us to do. And that's when I started meeting people that were actually already in the industry. I never had to go to the industry and try to sell what I was doing, because I'm not selling anything. I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is offering an outlet for players that they can actually come and get mental health disorders, conditions, evaluations, treatments, education, so that they can perform at their best, not just as an athlete, but also as a husband, as a son, as a daughter, as a wife. And that was so important to me, because when I started seeing retired athletes, the story actually became a little bit more deeper. And a lot of these athletes that I met with, many of them had actually been through multiple depressive episodes and having multiple career changes and opening different businesses that didn't necessarily survive. And I'm like, where did you get, why isn't this happening for you? Is this something that was discussed within your professional organization? I mean, what's going on? And then when I went to Olympians, these are athletes who I consider professional athletes, but some of the world does not consider professional, even though I do, because they train day in and day out. And even so, a lot of stress. Their stress may be a little different, but it's heavy on their heart, because these are people that are competing every 4 years, quitting their jobs, not getting paid, actually having to go and compete for a spot for their whole entire country. That's the type of stress that these athletes are experiencing. And so again, that's when doors started to open. And just so elated that the doors and the windows start to open, because I know I couldn't do it alone. I knew I had a lot to learn, more than just treating the athlete and their family. I had a lot to learn about the organizations. I had a lot to learn about the staffing and the coaches and how they actually foresaw mental health and how they were actually implementing these new strategies within the organizations that were mandated by their organizations, right? They're the top of their organizations. For example, the NFL, the teams they're separate entities, and the NFL doesn't own any of the teams. So this is something that's regulated. NBA, we all know they actually have, and Kevin Love and 𝕃𝕀𝕍𝔼 are very huge advocates that actually helped start their mental health initiative within the NBA organization as well. So, as we start to evolve as a country, as things were starting to happen outside the country as well, I know, because some of the athletes have told me, thanks to you all, that they actually start to open up as well. And then that actually became a vicious circle, which is not as vicious in a bad way, but a vicious circle where you now start to see more athletes open up about what they've been experiencing for many, many years. And that actually would lead me to talk about how my company is going to help a number of athletes for years to come. Mental Healthletics was birthed for a few reasons. One, not just to provide psychiatric care as a psychiatrist for these athletes, but to actually be a one-stop shop, all-inclusive company that provides them with therapy, that actually does evaluate for medication management for those conditions that are needed to be treated with medicines, because you can't just take it out in the field or do some mindset training to let things go. It also involves new ways of managing. So we talk about natural ways of management, whether it be vitamins, whether it be talking about sleep patterns or yoga, meditation. We work with different experts. I have a team of experts that I work with, because we come up with a plan. And the plan actually involves not just me, but it involves a team of us, all double board certified physicians and trainers and nonprofit organizations and other individuals that are valuable assets already to the athletic community. There's no organization like this. And I want to tell you one other thing. Last year, 2019, the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, actually met. Now, this is a number of influential individuals and members of their own countries that come together, and they're commonly physicians on this committee. And these physicians meet probably once every 2 years. And they met last year, and they actually spent a few days together and came up with a report, which is a very typical thing to do. You have to be elected and nominated to be on this committee. This committee actually established that there was no protocol currently for any professional organization that has mental health regulations, patterns, protocols for their athletes. Which means that when I know a trainer from a professional organization that tells me that, you know, one of their players is dealing with anxiety, there's no protocol for that. Now, yes, some of these organizations are now having, you know, mental health providers, like the NFL does have a psychiatrist on their team, and the NBA does have like a separate mental health component to their team. But there's really no firm protocol. So that trainer actually becomes that person's therapist. And I've met many trainers who've actually done that. But the interesting thing about this is that this is not a competition. Mental Health Athletics is not here to compete against any organization. We are here to help. And how we're here to help is we're here to educate coaches. We're here to educate those who are in leadership positions. And your philosophy about ADHD is definitely incorrect, then we're here to give you the evidence-based medicine to show you that, listen, if you treat this player, actually it's a win-win situation, because that player is going to perform at their optimal level, and that's going to actually be successful for your organization. We're here to actually help the player, the athlete, and from that, help his or her ecological systems. So we're here as educators. We're here as educating the families. The families that don't know or understand why that athlete is dealing with anxiety or depression or substance use. And there are a lot of mental health conditions that are actually at high risk in certain genetics and populations. So guess what? If someone has ADHD or depression or anxiety, it's very likely that a family member does as well. But not only just to provide that support for the athlete, we really do care about the athlete circle. We cannot just help an athlete and not help all the persons and organizations and entities that are involved in the athlete's life. That's how we're going to change the game on this mental health. And that's how mental health should be for everyone in our society. So hopefully we're setting the standard. And today I actually want to bring forth many people that are a part of my circle in this mental health athletic arena. I actually met, and I'll bring them on, and we'll definitely talk about how we met. But I definitely want to leave some time for, bulk of the time where you can actually hear from them. You can actually hear their story, their connection to mental health, what they do, and what they see forth in our world for athletes in receiving mental health and how beneficial that would be. So please join me. And I see everybody. I see you on. Thank you so much for joining. I am going to bring on EJ, Keisha, and Brandon. What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
How are you, Dr. Dawn?
Woo! I am.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Huge congratulations.
Congrats, Dr. Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please, I want to I'm just starting with Keisha, because she's the lady of the room here. Keisha, do you mind just introducing yourself? And we'll go to Brandon and EJ. Just let people know who you are, if you're associated with the organization, and, just kind of your thoughts on mental health.
Sure, of course, you guys. As she mentioned, I'm Keisha Dennis, and I'm the founder and CEO of a nonprofit. It's a mental health nonprofit called The Elephant in the Room, Inc. I definitely think the connection that Dr. Dawn and I have, it's perfect. It's something that we both say it's God sent. One of those windows in my home and her home was definitely meant for Dr. Dawn. When we first spoke on the phone, we instantly had a connection. We had the same goal in mind, and we work hand in hand. It's my responsibility with our nonprofit to educate and advocate for mental health and to erase the stigma, to get people to start talking about mental health and normalizing those conversations. And so the biggest thing for me and my organization is that while we're doing the work of erasing the stigma when it comes to mental health and getting those conversations going, once those conversations are started, we want to be able to have some sort of resource. And to me, that's where Dr. Dawn's brilliance comes in. She is the brains of mental healthletics. And when she initially told me about this program, oh, let's see, when was this? This was, Dr. Don, this was almost a year ago, I think, when you told me now. This was almost a year ago.
No, Keisha, no, this was this year.
It was?
Yes, this was actually after Super Bowl.
February? It was in February.
Yep.
Yep, it was in February. That's right.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and I instantly knew that was the answer. It was the answer. Of course, you know, we share some of the similar respects to mental health and the people that we work with. I'll let the other guys, you know, introduce themselves, but we all kind of have some sort of relationship to sports, and just being able to have the guys that support my nonprofit, NFL, NBA players, and just hearing them talk about some of the needs and what they struggle with and how they want to be a part and support my organization with advocating for mental health. It's only right that they understand who Dr. Don is, because they are on the end where, as she spoke before, the stories are sounding very similar. And the only way that we're able to make a difference is through a program that's been specifically designed for them. And so I am so excited for you tonight. Thank you for having me. I'm glad you brought the elephant in the room to join in your celebration. And I'll let the other guys introduce themselves.
Thank you, sis. I really appreciate you, Keisha. Thank you so much. Brandon.
Dr. Don, again, congratulations. This is it's a great thing that you're doing. It's definitely needed in not just the athletic world, but just everywhere. You know, what I do for a living, I feel like there's a lot of synergies between you and I, and I, like I said, I'm excited. I'm proud to say that I know you and to call you my big sis. But my name is Brandon Williams. I am the founder and director of operations with 𝕃𝕀𝕍𝔼 Sports, and we focus on financial planning, budgeting, estate planning, tax prep, and I specialize in working with athletes. So on an everyday basis, you know, I'm dealing with the psychological aspect of it, just like you are, just when it comes to trying to make sure these guys understand what a detailed budget is and how they transition from the field, the court, the diamond, when you think about baseball, into the real life. Because like the gentleman said, you know, from the beginning of your video, I think his biggest hurdle was the game retiring him due to injuries. And I know EJ will be able to talk about from an injury standpoint and being a trainer, you know, it's going to come a time when, you know, the man upstairs says, hey, it's time to hang your cleats up. And that's kind of like our approach and my approach every day to telling these guys, you know, as you transition into this thing that we call the real world, because in their minds, they live a different life. And technically you live the same life as everybody else does. You just have to hit somebody or dribble a basketball, or hit a baseball, and everybody is focusing on you. And it's so much, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? It's so much pressure when you're out fighting for a job every day when it comes to practicing the game and saving money and having to take care of your intermediate family, but then your distant family. And then you don't feel comfortable talking to somebody. That's why you said they want to have a confidential, live a confidential life and a private life, but it's so much stuff that they hold in and are scared to talk about. And that's why people like Keisha, yourself, and your organization that you're starting today, that's why it's all about you. I think it's going to be so key as guys open up and come in and talk to Dr. Don and get better. And as Keisha would say, it's okay to not be okay. And a rape stigma. So that's who I am. I'm Brandon Williams. Like I said, I'm with 𝕃𝕀𝕍𝔼 Sports. We focus on financial planning, but at the end of the day, it's all about you today, Dr. Don, and I'm here to help however I can.
God bless you both. Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you both taking time out of your busy schedules to be here for me this evening. It means so much to me. So thank you. Thank you. EJ, what's going on?
Dr. Don, how do you do? First and foremost, congratulations to you. what you're doing right now is needed, is huge, and it's something that can potentially help hundreds of thousands of athletes from here to whenever the good Lord say. But once again, congratulations to you. A little bit about myself. I'm a performance specialist and trainer here in Atlanta, Georgia. I had the opportunity presented to me by Keisha Brandon to sit down and speak with you maybe a month and a half ago. And upon speaking with you, as you laid out the program and what you wanted to do, it resonated with me because, as you said, a lot of times as a trainer, you don't necessarily get the grunt, but you are an outlet in a sense that a lot of these guys or women want to talk to, because there is a level of trust, because you've already built a level of trust in lead athlete, because for someone such as myself, you're trusted to help them be able to sustain what they do, be able to create longevity within their careers by keeping them healthy, right? But then you can have, in a snap of a finger, have an unfortunate incident where there's injury, right? And whether it be small or large, the mental health in that moment is huge. You see athletes who are mentally resilient, who just have like a untaught attribute where it doesn't phase them one bit. They look at it as another challenge and they just go about it, which is lovely to see. But on the second hand, you may have an athlete who struggles in that essence, because, as Brandon said, it's not just about them. They have to take care of their families, their immediate families, their extended families, and all of those things are constantly going through their head. And as you said at the beginning, especially in the game of football, it's taught to just you just suck it up and go about your business. Put a rock on it and go, because you're expected to perform for yourself, for your brothers, and as we just said, the people around you. So to be able to be a part of a program and have the opportunity to help on that end, on the mental end, is amazing, because when the mental shape is good, the physical level increases exponentially. And that's the key, making sure that every day whoever steps into a training facility is mentally prepared for the task at hand. But the task at hand is not necessarily that session, but that day, And for people such as yourself, Keisha, with her organization, it allows them to have an outlet, not just an outlet of which they can share what they've gone through to help others, but an outlet to tap into to be able to help themselves. And you have men in our industry such as Brandon who can share in that task of knowing that sometimes that guy gonna call you first. They're not gonna call Dr. Don. They're not gonna call Keisha. And unfortunately to say, they won't go to the team because it's not that level of trust. So they'll call someone who they talk to on an everyday basis to, just say, yo, this was going on, and they're not feeling it, right? So to be able to be a part of something like this is amazing. It's necessary, and I'm appreciative of it. Yeah, I've been here for a short time, but Dr. Don, what you're doing is amazing. As they said, it is about you today. But just thank you, and continue to push and advocate for mental health for these athletes, because there will come a time when they either hang up the cleats or the cleats hang them up. And when they do so, it's great to be in the mental condition to just transition in a smooth manner. So, yes, that's a little bit about myself, but more importantly, thank you for what you're doing and for allowing us to be, with you on today.
Thank you, EJ. Can you tell people where to find you? I know it's about me, but I definitely want to support your actual business.
You can find me at Stack Sports Performance in Atlanta, Georgia. It's easy to connect with me via Instagram. It is EJ Webb. I'm open guy, silly guy, help you out. I see you shaking your head, Keisha, Brandon. Yeah, but it's about seriously. That's where you can find me. I train. We go get some work in, but like you say, you got to keep it light. Okay. We come in and get a little work. Yes,
I'll see you in December, bro.
Hey, look, whether you're, as my father would say, whether you're all-pro or all-star, Jane and Joe, I can help you out. But the physical and mental, they are a direct correlation of one another. I see it every day. When someone's in a physically good shape, they're able to get themselves through things mentally, and vice versa. When you're in a mental good shape, that the physical part is easier to overcome. So yes, that's where you can find me. And if you come holler at me, let's get a little work in.
I love it. You know, one thing that I knew that instantly connected us was our faith in God. And when I met each one of you, I mean, I felt God's presence when we connected. We actually verbalized how much we love God and how passionate we are about him and how he's connected to everything that we do. And that's when I knew that I found my team. I knew that this was the starting of a wonderful foundation, because that's what I want for all my businesses, especially when I connect, because this is my first business. I'm really connecting with other organizations and leaders and entrepreneurs. And so I just want to thank all three of you. You truly have been a blessing to me. Thank you for just hearing me out. Thank you for hearing kind of my plans. Thank you for even just offering me Keisha. Thank you. I mean, I can't thank you enough. You have been a strong factor and force in this company's build, which is why you are one of the company's board members. I feel that you are a leader in your community. Everyone loves you. The players and the athletes you connected me with, they speak highly of you. You are a sister to many of them. And they just really connected well where they can trust you. And they instantly just shared everything with me. So I knew it started somewhere, and it started with you. It started with your relationship with them and your trust in me. And so, Keisha, I really thank you. I will always thank you for all the things that you've done, and just publicly wanted to acknowledge you and your efforts and just your friendship, your sisterhood. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I have a question for y'all. So, you know, my mental health athletics. So as I said, it's all encompassing, right? So we don't just deal with conditioning and mental conditioning. You know, we have to exercise the brain, you know, mentalize, meditation, thinking about how the play is going to come to fruition and walking it through, how to manage that anxiety that you feel, you know, before you get to that actual play. We also talk about medications, right? We actually want to understand if there's some type of symptom that's there, then we need to refer to someone else. So have you all dealt with any athletes where you felt that their burden was so strong to bear that they've tried everything, that they, you know, worked out and they did 2-a-days and that didn't help? Or, you know, they talked to their family, they went out with their guys, and the problem was still there. Because that's what mental health is about. We do therapy, but we also do medication management. And when I talk about medication, just to kind of like different leaders of professional organizations, I could just see it on their face, right? It's a new area to discuss. There's not such thing as a actual sports psychiatrist as far as, you know, training. We actually can be called sports psychiatrists if we have met criteria for experience. But I guess what my long-ended question is to you all is, do you feel that there are some certain circumstances where you've actually talked with athletes and the burden was so hard you just didn't know how to help them or who to refer them to?
I don't think I've had a guy that's not been able to kind of get back to the core attributes of his life. And I think what you said and what kind of EJ touched on too, when you trust somebody so much, you know, it's kind of like coaching. Kind of like you're our coach. So when we come to Dr. Don, it's like, okay, she has a playbook. She understands what's really going on. And, you know, just for me personally, the guys that have struggled with it, you know, I'm not a mental health coach. So, you know, I know they trust me. So me being able to say, hey, you should reach out to Keisha Dennis with the Elephant in the Room Inc. And she could place you with, you know, a multiple number of, you know, counselors or psychologists, whatever field it is, and then you pick, going off of what fits you best. And, a lot of times when you do that, and that's my personal part of it, my guys that have to.
Uh-oh. Brandon? Can't hear you. Okay, there you go. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys that I've dealt with personally that have been able to utilize her services, they've been able to kind of get back to we call the center of life, which is self and honesty. They peel back the layers, and that's just because of trusting someone like myself and then saying, hey, you should talk to these people. Never met someone that really had to kind of revert to medication. If they have, they may not feel comfortable talking about it, but I think it's just the comfort zone. Me personally, that's just my experience,
I kind of agree with Brandon, especially the piggyback. I was going to mention the fact of a lot of times people are really, really afraid of the whole medication.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a stigma around that. However, I understand the uncertainty and the concern just because of sometimes how it's displayed and how some people may have abused it before because they didn't necessarily take their client is serious in their health condition into consideration. It's just, let me just write a prescription and go on. Or they have other people who maybe have come visit a physician, and as soon as they come in on their first visit, they're asking for, I just came because I was on medication. Yet they haven't really allowed the specialist to diagnose them to find out exactly what's wrong with you, because you may not need medication. However, if that specialist does everything possible, they've been going to school 4 years for this, and then recommend that you need a specific medication, it's definitely something that could be trusted. And I think that the trust relies in the physician itself. So yes, I do know that there are some people that are out there that definitely may need to rely on some medication. However, medication doesn't mean that it has to last forever. It may be something to, if you have a specific program, to be able to get you back on track, and it's like building blocks. And then it's a mental health evaluation, but it has to be like with someone that you really trust, and like a program with mental athletics, something that is designed not to just medicate you and make you feel fine for just a moment. It's something that will medicate you for maybe a minute, if that's truly what you need to get you back on course to being who you are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
To piggyback on what they said, fortunately, and I say fortunately because it's truly a blessing, I have not had to encounter an athlete or work with an athlete who has gotten to a point in their lives, whether it be professionally in their careers or personally, where they've had to revert to medication. And I say that's fortunate because, as Keisha said, it's definitely in sports, it's a stigma around it, but the reality of it is, in my opinion, medication is a last resort. They've been able to seek help, whether it be help outside or just sit down within themselves and just, get back to what is the center of life. What are your core values? What got you here? Why do you want to be here? And in doing that, have allowed them to work themselves out of whatever rut they may be in. But also, as Brandon said, you'll have guys who will call on you. They'll ask you. In another fortunate instance, we have people such as yourself, Dr. Don, yourself, Keisha, where we can say, at this point, I honestly do not know. I do not know what to do. And that's a major thing to be able to say, as opposed to continue, trying to help and tap into a block that you can't break. I personally don't know. But what I can do is I can refer you to individuals of whom I trust in the same manner that you trust me. So therefore, we can get to a point where once we get through this storm, we back on smooth sailing, we going. But at the end of the day, I think that's huge that we haven't encountered anyone that that needs to be at that point yet. Once again, it goes back to resiliency, and it's knowing that although you might have a physical time to let everything go, you still got to fight that mental fight, even when that hour and a half, 2 hour training session is up. That never stops.
Right. Amen. Exactly. And I felt that was an important question to ask, just to gain your experience in identifying if there were athletes that you felt needed help, but also for the athletes that are going to see this or seeing this now or on the replay, that psychiatry doesn't just mean medicine. Yes, we went to medical school. Yes, that's our primary focus when we deal with with patients, but it's definitely not the only one. And if I felt that personally that medication is not needed, I would say I actually would love for you to walk out my office without medicine or out the virtual space without it. But I'm here for all of your mental health. I'm here in case that conversation needs to happen. I'm here to educate you on it. And I'm also here to make sure that you know it's confidential and it's accessible, and you don't have to no longer live in silence. You don't no longer have to live in silence. You don't no longer have to live in silence. You know, it's interesting when Dak Prescott came out a few weeks ago and talking about suicide and how his brother had left this world with by way of suicide, and how he himself experienced depression and anxiety on National Suicide Prevention Day. And that was his connection with the world. But I felt that I also just looked at that moment and saying, I'm so happy he's speaking out, because I know he's also speaking out directly to athletes. That even me, as a quarterback of America's team, right, deal with this. And so as we continue to see athletes come out and actually have conversations, whether it's with you all or their family, their friends, I feel that our society, especially the African-American society, when NFL is 70% of players, I think it's probably higher than that now, and then 80% in the NBA, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. And I feel that this is the right realm to do that. And how we've come from different backgrounds and places to where we can have these conversations openly without judgment and get them, the help that they need. So thank you all for answering that. Thank you for expressing, your answers to that, because I feel that, athletes need to know that this is not just about me evaluating or judging or anything like that, or just trying to give you medicine. No, this is really a family. It's really a network to make sure that your needs are met. So thank you. Appreciate that, y'all. I just wanted to really just rehash the 3 areas that mental health, or that mental health Lit actually covers. So when we first meet with the athlete, we do a discovery session. And then that discovery session, it's a 90-minute session where I actually evaluate, and I actually ask a lot of questions to the athlete. But the 3 areas that we cover are performance enhancement. Every athlete wants to be the best at his or her sport. Understandably so. I mean, I want to be the best in my career as well. So we actually look at their performance. I try to understand what mechanics are going to their performance, what type of emotional piece is a part of that. If there's any mental blocks, emotional blocks are getting in the way for them performing at their optimal level. And also realize that perfectionism is a huge piece, as well as the type of pressure that they've actually been able to tolerate becoming professional athletes. That actually works into performance, and actually can be a very fine line to where they're actually doing well, but at the end of the day, can you come down from that? Because when you get to that level, it's always another level that you want to go to. So we really focus on that part. What's new to many of these athletes that I'm so proud that Mental Health Lit provides is that structured routine, organization, lifestyle piece. A lot of these athletes are dealing with insomnia, like 𝕃𝕬𝕙 talked openly about how his insomnia led to anxiety, and how that started way back in his college career when recruiters came to see him play. And a lot of athletes are dealing with that when they're traveling back and forth, whether it's during the season or even just being an athlete in itself and trying to figure things out with their career, right? And so we definitely talk about that routine piece and that connection, and how mental health plays a huge role in maintaining that structure for their lifestyle. But they're more than an athlete. So we talk about how that actually contributes to, let's start on draft day, talk about what your retirement may look like. Let me connect you with Brandon. Let me connect you with Keisha, because you want to start a nonprofit organization. You want to help other kids from your city and in so many ways. You want to actually build upon your performance when you actually transition to one team from the next. So let me hook you up with EJ. And that's how we connect them with their routine, their structured lifestyle, but also their family. And a lot of these athletes actually are not necessarily in a good place when they're away from their families and their children and their support system. And it's difficult for them because they are dependent upon by many of these individuals, or they're just away for a long time, depending on what sport they play. And the final piece is that post-career transitioning period. And we don't just start when they become retired. No, we actually start when they are college athletes or elite athletes in the college, daring to become or going to college. You know, it's very critical that you always have a plan in mind and that you get your financial plan in order, that you get ideas of who you are outside of being an athlete. So that when you are ready to transition, you're not actually trying to figure it out. You're not trying to figure out your finances, what you want to do, what type of things you want to do for your community, or how you're going to make ends meet. You've already had a structured plan in place for your post-career. And guess what? Especially at the time when you didn't need or didn't actually plan to retire, but like everyone said here on this panel, that your actual career retired you. So that's what Mental Health Athletics offers. We are live, you all. You can definitely go to www.mentalhealthathletics.com and actually see us live. We are here to support you. We are here to encourage you. And please, yes, I saw Dr. Janelle put in there, tag an athlete. Please tag an athlete. Let them know that we are here to help in any way possible. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Last one of y'all. Thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. It's important for me all to be here.
Dr. Don, you're gonna do great. You're gonna do great things. You're gonna do great things.
Sky's the limit, literally. Continue to push the boundaries. You know, thank you for having us. Thank you for having us along on this journey.
Dr. Don, when you, I know that your thing is launched, it's here. God's gonna bless you in so many ways. I know you give a lot of, prudent advice to a lot of us that are on here, including the people that are watching. I would say, I know you talked about the medicine aspect of it, but I would say, and I was telling Keisha this at one time, I think the biggest element when it comes to athletes, you got to start in that grassroots area, the middle school and the high school, because when you think about basketball, so many kids are getting bombarded at the age of 12 because they're the top 12-year-old. And I mean, you're talking about a guy that's in, 6th grade, so how is he supposed to take that? And when he's 18, he's like, oh, I'm like LeBron, I'm the phenom. So you'll be surprised how many more guys come out about it. And I think as you go on and create this safe space like you and Keisha talk about, I think it's going to be great. But definitely start with the lower level kids, because those are the ones that suffer the most as they get older, that I'm starting to see, so that's just my 2 minutes.
And we appreciate that as well. We appreciate all the input you provide, and you're exactly right. You're exactly right. I mean, as and I've seen a few of those cases, even within my industry as being a child psychiatrist, I see it. And, a lot of them are struggling. A lot of them are trying to find their way, and the natural development process of what's supposed to happen may be shifted. And, although they're really gifted athletes, the individualism is lost, or it's kind of gradually going away as they're viewed as, oh, this is an athlete, we got to prepare them. Let's recruit them in 6th grade. And you had an athlete in 6th grade. I mean, it just goes on and on, right? And so, especially athletes, right? Or their families, family member played. So, no, I do appreciate that input. I've actually discussed that with Rennie Curran. And, we have a couple of things that we're talking about in incorporating mental athletics to be a part of making sure that we meet the kids where they are at a younger age.
Player development.
Player development.
That's where it is, and I guess for you and Keisha, it's life development. So start there. I think as they start getting older, they'll shift into the comfort zone where they're saying like, oh, okay, well, I know somebody that here's my mental health coach, and here's where I excel at, because I was able to get it when I was younger, and now I understand how to cope with these different mechanisms that, you know, that may trigger. Because all we're taught as athletes, and EJ could say, is next play, next day, short-term memory, come on, provide for your family. And when provide for your family is at any means necessary, you know.
Yeah.
Knock this guy out.
So true.
You got to. I mean, and if I made it to like you said, as Brandon said, when you really think about it, it is imperative to start at that grassroots level, because you even look at things such as the NCAA allowing players to now start to benefit off their likeness when they get to the collegiate level. So if you could do that now, the collegiate level essentially get paid. Therefore, they're going to start the recruiting aspect, the amount of attention, the amount of responsibility, quote unquote, that's put on these kids at a younger age will increase, right? So you have to, just as much as we addressed on my end performance, how much performance has improved from a physical standpoint to help them get there, you got to start doing it at the mental level too, because as you have more attention, as you have more lights on you, you have to know how to properly deal with that. And then at the same token, as Brandon said, you might be the top 6th grader, but what happens in 10th grade when you go from top 10 to top 50? You want to make sure this same kid is still enjoying it. But if he's enjoying it as a kid, if he knows how to mentally cope now as an adult, you won't have to fight down or break down so many barriers or boundaries to help them be able to live that successful life that we're all fighting for and hoping for them to do. So it's key. Mental healthletics. Compete at the highest level.
Right.
I like that tagline, EJ.
That's a smooth transition.
That's it right there. And that just sums up athletes in a nutshell.
It does. It does. It does. Thank you, y'all. Thanks, fam. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. I love what you're doing. It takes all of us. It takes a village. We all connect the dots and tie the strings and get somebody where they need to be.
Amen. Amen to that.
Everybody,
I want to see that emoji clap from my fam. EJ, Keisha, Brandon. Thank y'all. Thanks for being here, you all. Sure. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, okay? Thank you. And you all, one of the things that I wanted to share with you is just as I close, there are so many number of individuals that I do want to thank. The first is my father. You know, I really do appreciate his guidance throughout the years. Him being there for me and my brother when our mother passed away 13 years ago. Dad, thank you so much for believing in my big dreams. You've always believed in my big dreams. And I just really appreciate you, Dad. There were times when there was some self-doubt that came into my mindset and how I was going to make things work. And every single time you prayed with me, you nurtured me, you encouraged me, and I do appreciate it, Dad. So thank you so much. Rashad, thanks, my bro. My brother Donald, known as Donald to people. I appreciate you as well. Thanks for just being a wonderful encourager, a wonderful advocate, and a supporter of everything that I do as well. I am so very proud of you. And even though I'm your big sister, I'm just very inspired by what you're doing. And so I really, truly appreciate you. And then the rest of my family, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, you know, I can't name all of you, but you all know you have a very special place in my heart always. And I love the closeness that we share. And I really do appreciate every venture that you support of mine. So thanks. I also want to thank my coach, Dr. 𝕃𝕬𝕟, America's favorite OBGYN. You know, thank you so much for being there. You actually extended this vision for me. You actually, you know, you encouraged me and showed me that I can really, really do this. And not that I self-doubted that part, but you actually told me and showed me that I already have what it takes to be able to expand what I've been working on already. So thank you for bringing this to fruition, for helping me bring this vision to fruition. And I am truly grateful for your leadership and your guidance. Dr. Brad, my goodness. Dr. Brad, thank you for clarity. My clarity coach, y'all. I have a clarity coach and Dr. Brad is it. You know, he's also a faith, and so is Dr. 𝕃𝕬𝕟. Everyone I work with has a faith background, on purpose. And Dr. Brad, I really appreciate the clarity that you brought to the vision as well. I knew what I wanted. I just didn't know how to say it and how to communicate it to where others understood. And you made that happen. And so I really do appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing for other men in your men's group. And I just appreciate what you've done for me. So God bless you. Appreciate you, Dr. Brad. Dr. CC, thank you, my copywriter. I mean, every time I have something to say and use all the words that my ADHD brain uses, you actually just kind of put it into words where it's just powerful and also just very insightful. And, I really do appreciate you working with me and being patient with my changes of vision that I always bring forth to you. Man, we created an awesome website together. So thank you for that. And I also want to thank Grant, my website designer and envisionist, what I call him. He actually put that thing together in a week. And Grant, I really do appreciate you. Thanks so much. With Cece, Dr. Brad, and Grant, you all really helped me bring this to light. And so I hope that you all check it out. It is 𝕻𝕨𝕟.com. That's how people can communicate with me on that site. That's how you can actually communicate with me if you have any questions about what we offer. And I'm actually going to put it here because I thought I had it and I don't. But for spelling purposes, it is 𝕻𝕨𝕟.com. All right. So you all, thanks so much for spending some time with me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. I just want to do just really quick shout outs because you all are so important to me. And I definitely want to acknowledge you. Nisi, thanks so much for coming. Aunt Yolanda, we did it. Thank you. Ashanti, thanks Ashanti for being a support always. Dr. Tanil, appreciate you. I love you all. My brother Cedric, Alana's on here. My soulmate, one of my soulmate, Mike Bradley. Oh, bro, we did it here. And Brandy, thanks so much. Yes, they are both awesome. And I highly recommend both of them, including Dr. Cece. So you all have a good night. Please share this with everyone you know. I would really appreciate it. Mental Athletics is here. We are global. We are here to help athletes in a way that they need it. Just like anyone else. And so appreciate your time tonight. And you all take care. Have a wonderful evening. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Zombie apocalypse.